I'm avoiding talking because I'm still coughing. I was just coughing then, and this hurts my throat because of the tear gas exposure in a confined space that was a result of the criminal negligence of the employees of Igor Sumarok and the employees of the fire brigade. But I have to make this video because this is such a simple. Sorry, I got to talk really softly. This is such a, and I'm making this as a personal appeal to put on Facebook in case anyone ever watches it from Siloame. I'm a human being, remember. This is about if you want to defend your, if you want to have protection under the law, you have to work within the law. If you're going to let rich people like Igor Sumarok and even just people like Tamara bully you into denying you your human rights and denying you your legal rights as an Estonian resident, if you're going to allow rich people like Igor Sumarok and just simple people with a little bit of petty power like Tamara, the head admin here at Kayaka 15. Now, if you're going to let people like that abuse their power, Igor Sumarok and Tamara abuse the power they have over you to actually literally blackmail and threaten you so that you allow them to break the law, you think about that. Igor Sumarok and Tamara are undermining Estonian law. I know the Justice Ministry do the same thing, so this is a difficult situation to be in. But basically, see, I read back Igor. Igor, I think he's a trained lawyer. He's a rich guy. You can check him out, Igor Sumarok, online. You'll get all his details, assuming it's the same Igor Sumarok. And I used the telephone number it gave, and Mark contacted him on the telephone number. So Igor Sumarok is a pretty rich guy, and everyone here knows him, and apparently they're scared of him. And this is a big thing. Someone like Igor Sumarok and his employee Tamara, and I have her full name, but there's no need to publish that. I sent her messages on Facebook, and she's unavailable on Messenger on Facebook, so I can't send her any further messages. But basically, what Igor Sumarok threatened me with is that any conflicts with residents must be resolved regardless of their cause. Regardless of their cause. Now this means even if it's a hate crime, I've got to solve the conflict. If it's a totally irrational hate crime, if they're doing something criminal and illegal, and that's the source of the conflict, and the conflict with Igor Sumarok and them was all about safety measures, and the fire brigade have refused. They have never addressed the serious security issues I raised with them, safety issues. They've never addressed them, and now they refuse to answer my emails, claiming they have sent me emails. And they claim that having sent me an email that didn't address the issues, now they're no longer legally bound to answer my emails. Yeah. So the fire brigade is corrupt and conspiring. Now, when I went to the police station, they should have known, because they're Estonians and most of them are renting the police. They know that under Estonian law, a landlord cannot evict you themselves. They need to get a bailiff or a sheriff to evict you. And they must give you at least 3 months notice in writing. And you can take that to the court. And then the court will decide whether there's a legal justification for the eviction. The landlord has to have a reason, a legally justifiable reason to evict you, 1. And then they have to give you notice in writing, 2. And then they themselves cannot come into your property and touch anything or remove anything or attempt to remove you. They have to get a bailiff to do that. And the bailiff will only do that if the court has supported the eviction notice. Yeah. And I've spoken to real estate agents around here, and one of the reasons they say don't invest in real estate in Ida Virama, they were just complaining to me because I was just talking to him. He was really helpful. You can see my videos. He was a very, very helpful real estate agent. And after the police tortured me, he immediately moved me from my flat into another cheap flat, yeah, with no additional costs or anything. So he was a really good guy, with a really cool name like Harkonnen, like from Dune. Hakkanonen. Anyway, I'll give you his a name if you want it, but he's a good real estate agent in Yurfi, and he explained a lot of things to me. And he said one thing is that it's almost impossible to get anyone evicted. That there are people living in apartments, even that he owned, that were living there for months and months and months, and were not paying rent or anything, and that they couldn't get a bailiff to evict them, because in Estonia it's the rights of the tenant which are given precedence. You can argue whether that's good or bad, but given that we should be on the side of the underdog, and given what someone like Igor Sumarok is doing to me, we can see why we need, if we're going to err on the side of anything, we should err on the side of protecting the tenants. Yeah, even though that will mean that some tenants take advantage of these things and they won't pay rent and they'll do damage and stuff, and that's a bad thing. But you've got to look at the lesser of two evils, and the people with the most power are the people who with money, more or less. Have to be careful the communists don't take that too far, though. Okay, so basically, Igor Sumarok in writing, he's a very clever man, and he's written this in English. I don't know who wrote it, but he's very, very careful in his wording. But he lied. He never gave me 3 months' notice. Yeah, I said to him when he evicted me with 2 weeks' notice that he must by law give me at least 3 months' notice. He never responded to that directly. The only email I got from him was saying, seeing as you have no place to live, you may remain here as long as you cease your unlawful interferences. Now, he knows for a fact nothing I've done is unlawful. Everything I've done is trying to enforce the law. Every conflict I've had here, no one's perfect, but as far as I can see, I've not done anything wrong. All I've done is try to improve the safety of people here. And when Tamara has screamed at me and shouted at me, and people have treated me like shit here, full of hate and anger and rage, I've called them to account, yeah, as nicely as possible. And because I haven't cowed to them and submitted to them like a little slave, most people living here are alcoholics, drug users. It seems, this is my impression, that most people living here are drunk or alcohols or ex-convicts, prisoners. It's very, very, well, there's some people who seem to be very, very nice and have pets and everything. And so there's lots of nice people here. But even Olga revealed that there's something mentally deficient about her, or her character, that she would... I was the only person who warned her about what was going on when her kid was coughing his guts up in the 9th floor. I was the only person who went back in the building and tried to notify people and get them aware that something was going on. And then she hated on me because Tamara lied to her and she believed Tamara. Don't know why she believed Tamara over me. Then she denied me access to her Wi-Fi. She did it very rudely, insultingly, told me to get a job, told me to stop lying and stop being in trouble. So, all the people here, she's got 5 children, a single mother. She's lovely. She's a beautiful woman, I can see why she'd have 5 children. She'd have no problem finding a new father for more children. But anyway, so I'm rambling a bit here, but this is all philosophical, see, they're very important. Any conflicts with the residents must be resolved. And the only way I can resolve a conflict with the resident is by submitting to their arbitrary will, regardless of their cause. Yeah? So it doesn't matter what the cause is. We all know there's millions of reasons for conflicts. And in my case, the conflicts were completely legitimate, unavoidable. I could either allow someone to lock an emergency exit. I can allow people to drive like lunatics and kill people in the car park and drive away to the cafe, or I could try to do something. The only way to avoid that conflict, to resolve that conflict, is to not do something. See, the ideal life isn't to be agreeable to people. That's not your. I'm going to make these short videos so I can upload them directly to Telegram because I have problems with the phone. This is one. So this will be part 1 of this video. The amazing things about Telegram is that you can upload files up to 2 GB. So as long as I keep these videos under 2 gig, I can upload them from my phone to Telegram, and then I can download them from Telegram to my laptop because I'm having trouble transferring files from my phone. Sometimes I even resort to using Bluetooth. So anyway, so part 2, trying to keep track. Yeah, I've got to pull the screen up again to keep my mind focused. Yeah, so I've got this email here. It says, as we have already said, the royal we, it is extremely important to avoid conflicts with other residents in the building. Yeah, remember he evicted me because I filed a formal complaint about the tear gassing, and about the safety violations here. Still, they have emergency exit signs that light up at night that direct people to something that's not an emergency exit and something that's triple deadbolted. Yeah. Then unless you know how to open it, you can't open it. So it's not an emergency exit. Even Igor Sumarok promised he would do something about that exit. And I said, and I gave him the solution that would cost nothing, and he's not interested. So he evicted me initially because I reported these safety issues, even to him personally when he was here in the 2 minutes he gave me. And then I filed an official request for investigation into the tear gassing. Immediately after I did that, he evicted me with 2 weeks' notice. Yeah, and he knows you have to give people 3 weeks' notice, and he knows you need to get a sheriff to do it. He was just abusing his power and what he thought was his ignorance. He even thought I was not Estonian. I stopped him from finishing the whole sentence, but it seemed obvious to me that he was threatening me that if I went to the police to complain, that they would send me back to Australia. He didn't really ever listen to me. He doesn't understand that I'm an Estonian resident. So he tried to threaten me with being deported if I complained to the police about the safety violations and the car drivers here. It was about the car drivers we were talking about. They've improved, yeah, generally speaking, but, in our car park. So I definitely feel it had some impact on that, despite everything. But see, any conflicts. So what he's saying is that I must submit to whatever any tenant here wants, and any admin here wants, however, whether it's legal or not. He accused me of unlawful interference, but what he's saying is me interfering in their unlawful and their dangerous activities. It's unlawful not to meet the regulations, the safety regulations. It's unlawful to smoke in any public area of this building. And the public areas, they specifically state, include the entrance, and the stairway, the covered stairway to the entrance is clearly a common area. The entrance is a common area. No one may smoke there. Nobody. On the whole entrance. The steps leading up to it is a common area of the building. It's a covered stairway that it's the only access point for the building. So clearly Igor Sumarok must know that is a crime now, since 2021. Yeah? And you have people standing there like I did. One of the reasons I got kicked out of the hostel, evicted, was people were standing right at the entrance of the doorway to the hostel. And I just got fed up. They kept expecting me to walk through a wall of smoke to get into the hostel. And I put up signs everywhere, which they laughed at and removed. And so one time when someone was standing right in the doorway, I carried something big and long into the doorway. I didn't and sort of menaced them with the large object. Like I just walked forward into the doorway and they had to move to get around me. That's the only reason they would move. And they complained about that. But then you're not allowed to stand. You're not even allowed to smoke next to on the street next to a bus stop sign. Anywhere other people have to be. That's the whole logic. The only good thing the government's ever done in my lifetime is these non-smoker protection laws, and they become really strict now, saying it's obvious. The whole point is they should not be allowed to poison you with their toxic pollution, with their toxic chemicals. So it doesn't matter where you are. Nobody with a cigarette may be allowed to poison you. In the future, they'll say you shouldn't be able to do it with your children in your own home. And that really makes me sick that people do that. Here in the staff room's not a common area, but it's part of the building, so they shouldn't be allowed to smoke there either. But definitely the entrance door and the steps leading up to the entrance, which are covered, you'll see in my video. I'll take some photos of it. It's clearly a common area, and they sit there and smoke. And when I asked them to smoke to the side, to leave a gap for people to walk through that wasn't full of smoke, they all got angry and excited and abused me and everything. And so when I'm walking up there, I've got to hold my breath and walk through a wall of smoke half the time. And what they do is they sit with a cigarette. They sit right next to the door with their cigarette actually in the doorway. So that's all, you have to walk through their smoke. And it's clear. I just found because I had the router, I just looked up the law from 2021. It says clearly, I've got the PDF, it's the Estonian law since 2021. You cannot smoke in the entrance or in any common area of an apartment building. Yeah. and a common area, clearly an entrance and a doorway, and the stairs to the entrance that are covered, and the patio that's a common area is a common area of the apartment. And Igor Sumarok is a big, rich real estate guy and whatever. He knows this for a fact. So my point of why I picked up to make this video, despite my problems with my voice and everything, and I rarely make these sort of videos now, is I want to make this really clear how serious this is. And in case somebody from here watches this, you know, it's extremely important to avoid conflicts. No, it's not. It's extremely important to stand up for the truth and justice and rational laws. It's extremely important that people assert their human rights and their human dignity. It's extremely important that the average person stands up to people who think they have power over them. It's extremely important that you always stand up for yourself. Because if you don't, you're just going to be walked all over. Doesn't matter if it's the government or if it's someone you work with. If they're breaking the law and you've got rights, you must stand up for yourself. It's extremely important. It's not extremely important to avoid conflicts. It's extremely important to resolve conflicts fairly and justly, yeah, and equitably and rationally and reasonably and peacefully. That's what's extremely important, to resolve conflicts. It's extremely important to address conflicts, to analyze the conflict, to discover which people are at fault in the conflict, and to give justice to the person who's a victim, and to make sure that the person at fault is educated and doesn't repeat their injustice that's producing the conflict. I've never been the cause of any conflict, and I really do not believe that walking your cats in the hallway, where everybody loves them, can possibly be considered causing a conflict. If there's a conflict between someone who is being loving and caring about their pets with somebody who's an asshole, then surely the conflict is generated by the asshole who is making a problem where there's no problem. Yeah, you can't allow people to, and in the age of hate crimes, this is mostly really important, because I've complained about hate crimes here directly to Tamara and Igor and the police and the fire brigade. Yeah, and you can't hate crime. That's the whole point, regardless of their cause. If there's a conflict because someone is anti-Semitic or homophobic, or there's a conflict because someone doesn't like people who speak English, or there's a conflict because someone just doesn't like somebody, then telling someone to resolve that regardless of the cause is telling them to submit to injustice, to a hate crime. And I've been threatened that he's going to evict me on the 15th of next month if there's any conflict with any tenant here, regardless of the cause. So that's invited, and he literally invited people at a meeting of the tenants. I've got to get the exact wording again, but he invited, encouraged, he asked people, and I would say he pressured people to write written formal complaints about me. Yeah? So he's looking to encourage people to do their very worst. And this has happened to me my entire life in every situation. Anytime you let people get away with being shitty, let alone encourage them to do their worst, they're going to do their worst. That's disgusting. I'm going to stop this and upload it to Telegram. This is part 2. Part 3 will come in a moment. Okay, so the other phone stopped videoing halfway through a really good part of a video. So why I'm doing all this stuff is philosophical. It's not just... Well, the reason I invest so much time and energy and effort into this is that after 56 years, I'm finally almost articulate enough to express certain things which I never could before. And the basic problems, of conflict. Life is conflict. There's always conflict. I've got to put up my screenshot again. It's not extremely important to avoid conflicts. It's extremely important to resolve conflicts fairly. It's extremely important to have a conflict resolution system in place, which is fair, which everyone can access. That you don't need a lawyer to resolve a conflict. Yeah, in the ethical vegan nation, charter nation, there won't be real lawyers as the way we have them now. There'll be advisors, and there'll be it won't be an adversarial system. It'll be more like the Napoleonic Code, where people collaborate together to find the truth. So the role of a lawyer won't be to make a lot of money in vegan charter nation. It'll be to resolve conflicts according to the law. It'll be conflict resolution. It won't be adversarial. It'll be about what's the truth, what are the facts we can establish, what's the reasonable things we can assume, what's the actual law, is the law good and everything. Rich has come up, so I've got to, and it's very rare he comes up, so I've got to pet him while he's here. He's got a problem with his ear. Richard, say hello. Say hello to the camera. This camera is old. So anyway, so I was talking about Centrelink before the phone cut out, talking about Centrelink, saying what Centrelink did, they encourage employers to do their very worst. So they'd send somebody like me to an employer with a notice saying that this person's on benefits. If they don't do exactly what you want, if they don't submit to the very worst working conditions, if they don't accept the job, we're going to terminate their benefits. So what they basically did, see, cats are so jealous. You pick up an electrical device like your phone or computer, they ignore you all day, but as soon as you pick up a phone and your hands are busy with something, they demand that, hey, what's this new? You're not taking control of my human. That's my human. Get off my human, you know. So they come over, so you can't use your hands on your device. You've got to pet them. They're very clever. They're very jealous, but they're very loving, and they're worth it. I'm glad that you're jealous of the... Anyway, so I've got Richer in my lap. I'll be changing hands. So Centrelink, this is Igor Sumarok has done the same thing. He's encouraged people at a meeting to complain about me, to write written complaints. He's encouraged them. There's real hate here. I've complained about it to so many people, including him. There's real hate here. He's encouraged people to do their very worst. Yeah, and he's telling me that any conflicts with the residents must be resolved regardless of their cause by me. I've got to submit to anything anyone wants here. Doesn't matter what the basis of it is. If somebody decides they're going to have a conflict because they hate me, then I've got to submit to it. And you can't, because it's a hate crime. So people here are being encouraged to do their very worst. Just like Centrelink in Australia encouraged employers to offer the very worst conditions, the most abusive labour conditions, exploitative labour conditions, to someone who was unemployed on benefits, because the government told them, if this person doesn't submit to your whatever you want from them, then we're going to terminate their benefits. So you can offer them the worst job, the worst conditions, and then if they complain about some unsafe work practice, yeah, then you can terminate them. And in the army, they threatened me with insubordination charges. And they were smoking, they were lighting and smoking cigarettes right next to ammunition, yeah, right next to ammunition and high explosive signs. And they were smoking there. Not just there, they were smoking in the buses, in the classrooms, on the field, everywhere they were smoking. And the government had just introduced new laws to protect people like me. But they threatened me with insubordination charges. They were intimidating me to shut my mouth. That's what Igor Sumarok is doing here, intimidating me. Yeah? Saying if you try to assert your human rights, if you try to assert your human dignity, if you try to assert your legal rights, if you try to protect yourself and other people from safety violations, we're evicting you. And he didn't just threaten that, he did that. He never actually threatened me. He just evicted me. And then afterwards he said, well, you can stay as long as you cease your unlawful interferences, which is basically reporting safety violations, standing up for my human dignity, standing up for my human rights, standing up for the Estonian law, including the smoking law. Yeah, they are not allowed to smoke in any common areas. They're not allowed to smoke in a way that common areas are affected by their smoke, to be more precise. Yeah. So he's intimidating me, and this is why this could become a really big thing, and that's why it's worth investigating in. Because they keep ramping it up. They keep lying more. Sorry, my throat. The fire brigade. The police should have told me that he cannot evict me without 3 months' notice, and that he has to get a bailiff. The police know that because they rent. The police move around Estonia and they rent apartments, so they know their rights. They know tenant rights. It doesn't matter that I don't have a written rental agreement, because I have the emails, which are first he emits to a verbal agreement, and second he says I can stay as long as I cease my unlawful interferences. And as nothing I've ever done is unlawful interference, he has never given me any reason, and he's admitted I'm living here. The police know I live here. The police have been here many times over the 3 years. I think I even met Natalia when I first came here 3 years ago. So they all know I'm living here. Doesn't matter if I have a lease or not, you know. So if I call the police and they come here, they did it in Tartu they came and they told the landlord you can't evict him without 3 months' notice. But I had a written lease, made it easier. I just gave it to the policeman. He told the landlord you can't evict him. Remember, I woke up one morning naked in bed with the entire family of the people who own the home in my bedroom, telling me I have to leave. Yeah, so I called the police and the police cleared that up. In other instances, like at the hostel, they didn't check the computer to see that I've been living there and that I was registered there illegally as a resident. They fucking corrupt, yeah? They didn't do their job. And here, when I went to the police and said, you promised me you couldn't evict me for reporting these things, and he evicted me for reporting these things. They said, oh, it's not, we can't do anything. See, they lied to me, saying they would do something. Then they said they couldn't, but they definitely could. They told me it's a court matter. I'd have to go to Narva. But the point was, they should have told me, you have 3 months notice minimum, and then they can only evict you after the court has enforced the eviction notice, and then ordered a bailiff. Only a bailiff or sheriff can evict you from the premises. So even if you're not paying rent, you know, it's a problem for some people, the landlords. But I've paid my rent a month in advance. I've never caused a problem, been the cause of a problem. So anyway, the Centrelink encourage employers to do their worst by telling them if this person doesn't accept whatever job you offer them under any conditions, and if they don't submit to your arbitrary will while they're working there, we'll cut off their benefits, and they'll be homeless. Yeah, and Igor Sumarok encouraged people, asked them, maybe even pressured them into writing formal complaints about me, so he could justify evicting me illegally. Yeah, because he needed to have a cause. I don't know what people wrote. I don't know if anyone did write anything, but I know that telling people who hate somebody, encouraging someone who hates people irrationally to make a problem, they're going to take advantage of that. And the fact is, I can still smell smoke in my apartment when the door's locked, from outside even, you know. And when they were smoking in the common room with the door open, in the staff room with the door open, then it filled the whole hallway with smoke. And that's why Igor let me use the back door, but now the back door's locked. You can only come through the front door, past the staff room, and through the smoke-filled entrance, yeah, common area. So this idea, the most important thing, it's extremely important not to avoid conflicts. It's extremely important to resolve conflicts fairly and to have a conflict resolution, like an emergency evacuation plan. You need to have a conflict resolution situation in place, and everybody has to be treated equally within it. And there has to be free legal advice for the people participating. In the Australian government, they have all these things, but they don't enforce them. Yeah, there's grievance procedures. They don't investigate anything. Just like the police and fire brigade investigated nothing here. Even when I was hit by a car deliberately on camera, you know. So there must be people in Estonia who care about the abuse of power by the government, the abuse of power by police, corruption in the fire brigade, and the abuse of power by their bosses, the abuse of power by the admins in their apartment buildings, the abuse of power by their landlords. There must be people in Estonia who care about this. And this is clearly an abuse of power. They're telling me, they're threatening me, yeah, that if I stand up for my legal rights, if I try to have the Estonian laws enforced, if I try to stand up for my human dignity, then they're going to evict me. And they're going to evict me legally. And they've encouraged people to write complaints about me. I'm not sure what word to use. If I was at the meeting, I might even say pressured. Definitely encouraged. He definitely asked people. He definitely told people to write. Yeah, I don't know if he made it. I don't know how it sounded. If it sounded like they were encouraged to or they were allowed to. But I was told that at a meeting. Anyway, so I've got to stop this video because this video, I made this video before and then my phone cut out for some reason. I don't know what. But remember, Centrelink in Australia encouraged employers to treat new hires to do their very worst to them, telling them if this person doesn't accept any job that you offer them and doesn't do the job under any conditions, and if you complain about them and fire them, then we will terminate their benefits. Yeah, and Igor Sumarok has done the same thing here. He's saying that my rights, for example, from under 2021 Estonian law, my right not to be poisoned by other people's toxic drug addictions, he's telling me, he's blackmailing me, yeah? He's using his power, abusing his power to say, you may not complain, you may not assert your legal rights and your human dignity as a human being and your human rights, you may not assert any of these If you do, you'll be evicted. Yeah? Without notice. Because he's claimed he's given me notice already. He never did. But if the police are corrupt and won't support it, then what can I do? You know, you'll still get away with it. But definitely, if anyone tries to evict me on the 15th, I will call police, and I will call my friends, and I'll hopefully Roman and Rita this time will do something and stand by and watch, say something, and I'll go to the police station and remind Natalia. They all know I live here. He must get a bailiff, yeah, and he must first give me 3 months' notice. I didn't say that to him in the email because I don't want to encourage him to do anything. You can read my email. It was as diplomatic as possible, avoiding confrontation and conflict. You know, but this is totally wrong. In my video, I can speak the truth. To him, I can't. If human beings do not stand up to the people who are taking away their human dignities, their human rights, and even not enforcing the law, the government itself not enforcing the law, then you're giving away. You know, I said to Rita, I'm in the position of people with children now because I have the cats, that I have to submit to something that's wrong to avoid them suffering. And even that Austrian woman said the reason she's staying in Austria is for the sake of her child. It's a bit of an excuse. She said if she didn't have children, she'd leave Austria immediately. I think that's not true. And I think, and I said to Rita, I said, well, really, is that the best way? And I've been saying this a long time. Are you really serving the interests of your children by submitting to things? Isn't it in the interest of your children to leave the country and go live somewhere free, like the Phoenix Project in Bulgaria? Yeah? Isn't it in the interest of your children to stand up, even if it means losing your job? What's more important? The future of your children, their freedom and their rights, or your job? You know, the comfort of having a good kindergarten next door, or the freedom of your child. So I say to the Austrian woman that now she's kidding herself. She's staying in Austria because it's convenient for herself. She wouldn't leave even if she didn't have children, probably. And if it really is a reason, she really have to think, is it worth sacrificing your child's future just so that they can have kindergarten, a good kindergarten access in Austria? So anyway, I'll make this video short and I have to upload it by Bluetooth to my computer now. And I'll make the next, this was part 3, which was interrupted on the other phone. To this phone now. I hope it doesn't cut out again. So I sort of repeated what I made on this phone, when it cut out and I lost. So this is part 4. So this is about Igor Sumarok, and this is about the principle in general. And the whole tear gassing event, the whole me reporting the safety issues, the whole corruption and cover-up of everybody here in Siloame, the whole shebang is about the problem with the world. And that's why I do this stuff. That's why I bother. I know most people don't have the big picture that I have. They don't have the purposeful action that I have. So most people, they say the problem is there's no problems. Well, most people don't report stuff. And most people don't do anything about anything. Because, one, they don't see it in the big picture and they're not motivated enough to do something about it. And 2, they're just scared of losing some benefit. Like that Austrian woman who makes the great videos about Austria, she's willing to sacrifice her child's future, even child's death with the next vaccine, simply so the child can go to a good kindergarten, more or less. Yeah? So that's pathetic, to be honest. I'm being nice. I'm trying to be nice. I'm not being... I love the woman's work, and I totally admire what she's doing and everything, but I've got to call that bullshit. Yeah, that people say I do things for my children. Now I do understand, because if I get evicted from here, one of the reasons I submitted is because of Newcat. I'm responsible for Newcat now, and I can't just do what suits me. I can't just speak the truth to power and be evicted, because it doesn't just affect me; it affects Newcat. So I'm in the position of a parent, and I said that to Rita, and I said that's why, you know. But then I said, but then again, when it comes to children, you're really betraying their trust, because you're betraying them. You're saying that in the name of my children, I'm not going to do something, but as a result, those children are going to be, because Push got up, as a result, those children are going to be slaves, or they're going to be murdered or crippled by the government. Because me claiming the reason I'm staying in Austria is for the sake of my children, or the reason I'm not arguing with the landlord about people smoking is for the sake of my children, I don't want to risk the welfare of my children by being evicted. Well, that's why the world is the shitty place it is, because nobody does anything. And then the people in power say, look, there's no problem. Nobody else is complaining. If you're the only person complaining and standing up, then surely you're the problem, because nobody else is complaining. Yeah, everyone else is not complaining. They have the same complaints, but they're not expressing them because they don't want to risk getting a problem at work. They don't want to risk being disagreeable. Yeah, they don't want to risk something really serious like losing their job or losing their apartment. But generally speaking, they do it because they don't want to be disagreeable. And it's extremely important to avoid conflicts. That is the way they control you, from birth, conditioning. It's at school, you're trained to avoid conflict, not to argue with the teacher. If you argue with the teacher, you get sent out of class. And if you argue with the lecturer in the exam, you get failed. I drew a cartoon of Karl Marx in my sociology exam, and I got a passing grade. And my point being, I got high distinctions for everything in sociology. And I started getting high distinctions for my grades too, that in the same course that year. But because I made a mockery of Karl Marx in my exam, I got a passing grade in the first semester. If you think it's not real, then tell me, how did I manage to get high distinctions for almost everything else I did in sociology? Yeah. But that exam, that semester, they gave me a passing grade only. And in the exam, I made fun of Karl Marx and Das Kapital because I didn't believe it. I rejected it. So this is extremely important. As we have already said, it's extremely important to avoid conflicts. Yeah. This is the whole attitude that people have why the world's fucked up. Not just because people are evil themselves, yeah, but the very few times people are motivated to do something good and correct some injustice or do something or report something or blow the whistle, this is what they think. As we've already said, it's important, very extremely important to avoid conflicts. And then following that, there's always the threat. There's a reminder, you've got to be agreeable. Don't be a problem. Don't rock the boat. Then the threat comes after that. This was the condition of your employment. The condition of your employment with the government is to submit to vaxing. If you complain about this, even though there's an official complaints procedure, if you do complain, we're going to blacklist you. They did that to me. They blacklisted me. I followed the procedures, and instead of getting justice, I got blacklisted. Yeah? Because that's what they do. They put the procedures in place, so they go, look, we've got these procedures, there's no problems here. And look, nobody's complaining. But the people who did complain were sent to HealthQuest for psychological evaluations. The people who did engage the grievance procedures, yeah, they were punished for it. And I was blacklisted because they shut down. They tried to HealthQuest me. It's all in my notes. It got a bit confusing because I lost track of my documents. And in the court case, the lawyer had some other document which I hadn't referred to and hadn't in my documents. But he's saying, no, they did tell you it was a psychological evaluation. No, but the point being, they didn't tell me first. They arranged it. They told me ordered me to go there, and they didn't tell me it was a psychological evaluation. But he says, he had a piece of paper saying they did. Yeah, but that piece of paper was 3 months after the original. Yeah, and I didn't have the presence of mind. And he was so angry and hateful. The lawyer that was defending the government in my case. And I said to the judge, I said, why is he talking to me like a criminal? So how can he do that? Anyway, so I hadn't been prepared with my documents, and he caught me off guard, and I hadn't been prepared for the belligerent attitude of him, thinking this is a total stranger, and he was talking to me like a criminal, and abusing me and insulting me, and I thought, what the fuck is this? This is a court, This is for an administrative. This is a court about my unfair dismissal. I didn't really want to get my job back anyway. I couldn't bear to work for these shitty people. But this is the whole point. And this is why I'm still making this, even though I shouldn't be talking. I asked you to take the problem seriously. It's a threat. He's claiming the main condition for your residence in building a Kajaka 15 in Silame was that I avoid conflicts with other residents. What he's saying is, if other people have a problem with me, I have to do whatever they want. That's always been the case here. Never once have they done anything correct or right or fair or just. No one's ever apologized. No one's even admitted what a good person I am and how generous I've been to them. Yeah, he's done nothing about the smoking, even though Roman says he moved them to another floor because people were smoking. See, this is really important. Igor Sumarok moved Roman and Rita to another apartment rather than address the smoking problem in the building. So he knows people smoke in the building. He knows his staff smoke in the building. He knows they smoke in the common areas. And he knows since 2021 that's all illegal. And I can't do anything about it because he's making a condition of me staying here that he won't evict me, that I don't get involved in anything. And then if somebody says, we don't like you wearing red t-shirts, it upsets me, I better not fucking wear a red t-shirt. You know, if people say, oh no, we only speak Russian here, there's still no Estonian signs in the entire building. Oh, there's one in English at the emergency exit, saying it's emergency exit. No notices in the entire building apart from the official one, the fire brigade thingy. None of the notices are even in Estonian. Because he joked that only I just had to kill a. I'm making sure it's dead. I killed a huge mosquito, and normally I don't kill anything, but I've got big welts all over me, and it's a predator. So, you know, whatever. I'm sorry. I put up better fly screens, but then the cats can't come in and out, and I'm not living here. If I had my own apartment, I would make proper fly screens with cat doors. And I complained to Natasha that she has those sticky things that the flies stick to, and they die of starvation and dehydration on. And I said, I can't even come in here if you have those things hanging up here. You have to remove them. I said, I'll put in a fly screen for you, you know. So there's some insects in here because I've got to keep my door open too for the cross ventilation. So I did just kill an amazing creature. You know, the engineering of even a mosquito is just amazing. But I killed it really quickly, and I made sure it's dead. There's nothing left of it. And, you know, with flies, I just ignore them, brush them aside normally. Anyway, I'm not perfect. That's what I'm saying. I'm not even a perfect Jane, you know. And I do believe everyone has a right to self-defense. It's your choice. And even to preeminent, because the enemy, I made it in the video, because the enemy has already decided to engage in preemptive attacks on you and call it defense, you're basically at war. You have to realize that. Your government is at war with you. Yeah? You have already been targeted for preemptive aggression. They've already said they're going to carry out preemptive strikes against you because they've already claimed that you're the enemy and a threat and a danger. So what I'm saying is, in terms of defending yourself, it's your choice, but the right to preemptive strike against the people you know are your enemy, you have that right, moral, ethical right to it. It's not ideal, and it's not the basis for society, but you have that right. So probably just got myself a 10-year prison sentence for saying that, but it's a fact. And see, this is the thing. I've been risking going to all sorts of problems with the computer. It's not doing, I don't know what it's doing now. Okay. I've got to make the video and sort the computer out later. But what was I saying? Yeah, I've been risking, the only reason I'm really worried about moving out here is because the cats, you know? And it's inconvenient too. So maybe I'm making an excuse also, but really it's the cats. Because actually when he evicted me, I actually was happy. Because I thought, I don't want to give in, but if I get kicked out, then I have to move on. You know? That's not my choice. So I sort of was happy that he evicted me in a way. Not happy, but maybe going to kill myself too, which is also makes me happy because nothing is better than this. You know, I really hate living here in this world. If somebody shot me in the head, I'd be very happy. And if I get pushed to the point of suicide, I'd be actually happy too. To finally be done with all this shit. Because these shitty people really just are so toxic. This world is so toxic and so shitty. I do not belong here. If anybody, people thought they were insulting me once, but the comment was saying, yeah, I agree. I certainly am not belonging here with one of you. The video is 11 minutes. Okay. I think I'll go about 15 and then upload it. So, yeah, so it's really important. We make all these excuses for everything. And so, yeah, so I've been willing to risk lifetime in prison for standing up. And then I backed down to Tamara and Igor, these shitty little pieces of shit, and these shitty fuckers here and the corrupt police. You know, what am I doing? I'm standing up to the entire nations and the cult of Judah. I'm defying them, but I'm submitting to these shitty little munchkins, you know, these pieces of shit. So it's really hard for me to, you know. So I make these videos and I write letters I don't send, but I consider it a game. If they've got to play and I've got to win, because they want me out, they want me to leave, they want to have some excuse, and I'll do my best not to give them one, and also not to give them information that helps them in their plans. Tamara wants this as an office, and she was really clear about that, and she was really upset when Igor said I could stay here. They actually came in here, and he asked me if I could leave to another apartment because Tamara wants the thing, and I said, well, I'd rather stay here because everything's organised, and he let me stay here. And Tamara was upset. So she wants this as an office. Igor wants me to leave because there's a possibility of me suing him for criminal negligence. He knows that. He must be aware of that. I could be wrong, and I could be misjudging things, but I can only go on the behaviour and the things he said to me personally, that he doesn't give a shit about the people here. He just doesn't want problems. And the fact that he evicted me illegally with 2 weeks' notice because I complained about something. Because I stood up for my rights and I tried to protect the safety of people living here. So now he's a shit fucker, so I'm not trying to reform him. I'm no longer trying to reform Tamara because she blocked me on Facebook. So I'm not going to try to save these people anymore. I just got to be clever and do the smart thing and try to work out what to do next, rather than have them set the agenda. But this is so important, people. It's not extremely important to avoid conflicts. It's extremely important to... the only way that's correct is it's extremely important to set up a basis where there's less conflict. But it's extremely important to address conflicts. It's extremely important to address the basis for conflicts. And it's extremely important to address conflicts and resolve conflicts fairly for everybody. And it can't be based on whether you're rich. It can't be based on whether you have a shitty job in a building as an administrator. It can't be because you can't not have rights because you're unemployed. You can't not have rights because you're homeless. You can't not have rights because you don't have a lease. Everyone has to have the same rights in this conflict resolution. And you can't blacklist people and health quest them when they request a grievance procedure, a conflict resolution procedure. That's what the government did in Australia. Look up health questing, read my books. Okay, so on the 15th of the 8th, he may try to evict me, claiming that he's given me 3 months notice when he hasn't. And then when I call the police, they may just say they may lie and be corrupt and say it's not our business. Where's your lease, etc. So we'll see what happens on the 15th. I'm going to avoid conflict and I have the 100% factual law data about this smoking issue now. I found it online and I've given it to Roman and Rita. And I'm tempted to send it to Igor. But he's made it clear, he's threatened me that avoid conflicts. Yeah? So I can't, because him ensuring the law here is respected and that our rights and human dignity are respected, him doing that will generate conflict with the staff here and the people who want to smoke outside. And the other people here are feckless. One of the women who smokes here actually had a beautiful little daughter in the room with them in the staff room many, many, many times for long periods of time in a staff room that was absolutely full of smoke. I don't mean there were just people smoking. I mean the room was literally smoke filled. Literally thick. The air was grey and thick. There was no air, there was only smoke. And she had a little daughter in there with her. Yeah, for long periods of time on many occasions. So the people here are feckless and stupid. They don't know, they don't care about themselves, their own health. So if I asked him to enforce the law, that would be a breach of his understanding of our agreement. I would be generating a conflict. Pushers come over to me. I would be generating a conflict by asking them to respect my rights, my basic human dignity, and to obey the law of Estonia. And of course, these are ethnic Russians. They don't believe they're in Estonia. They keep saying, no, Russia, we're in Russian. We speak Russian, we're in Russia. That's what they keep joking all the time. So, so I can't do anything about the smoking. And if Roman, who hates smoking too, doesn't take the information I gave him and do something with it, and I've asked him to talk to Tamara about it openly and to record the conversation, to show her the actual law, yeah? To show her the law, Pushy's come over to comfort me, yeah. Pushy knows I'm stressed out. Thanks, Pushy. You're the best therapist ever. Conflict resolution. when she has a conflict with New Cat, she just gives him a smack on the face, and New Cat says, okay, and then they're best friends again. And she goes up to him and licks him afterwards to say, okay, there's no problem here, okay? We resolved our conflict. Push her, and New Cat just came in the window. Oh, get off the computer. No respect. And Push is sitting in my lap. So, hey Push, say hello to the world. Hey New Cat. New Cat likes to sleep on my computer. Okay, I'll stop this video here and I'll upload this because the cats have taken over again. Okay. So, yeah. Say hello, Push. Give them a kiss. Hello. Silly computer, silly mobile phones. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll stop this video here.